Hey guys, happy Thursday. How's everybody doing today? How's your week? Checking my streams here. Okay, this one is not going. There we go. That one is. Don't want feedback. Give me 1 second. Just gotta reset something here. Hey, how you doing? Happy Thursday. I'm gonna get started. Just a second. Just had to restart one of the streams. How you doing today? Thanks for joining me. On this self-care journey. Today is day 22 and the first day of fall, I believe. Okay. Let's see. Okay. If it stays, it stays. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Happy Thursday, everyone. What I like to call a thoughtful Thursday. Happy Thoughtful Thursday. I typically try to share on Thursdays some thought-provoking question or some way to help you to kind of dig a little deeper into who you are and why you do the things that you do. So today is day 22 of my 30-day self-care challenge. And so I am sharing every day hopefully a practical, simple self-care tip for all of you guys to try out in hopes of you making self-care a priority for yourself. So self-care is essential. There is no right or wrong way of practicing self-care as long as you are taking care of yourself, right? It's in the name. So I hope that this month, September is Self-Care Awareness Month, and these activities that I'm sharing will help to spark maybe some motivation for you to look into practicing self-care more and to learning what self-care looks like for you. Everybody's self-care is going to look different. So what does self-care look like for me? So feel free, you can see all of the videos that I've shared this month on my YouTube channel, which is under my business name, Mindful Edge Solutions. You can also get a free printable with all 30 days listed on there. You can get that at my website, which is mindfuledgesolutions.com, mindfuledgesolutions.com. And you can get that free printable by visiting my website. Okay, and the links to that are in the description of the videos or in my bio on Instagram. So today is day 22. Thank you for anyone who is watching. Today is day 22 of my self-care challenge, 30-day self-care challenge. And today's self-care tip is to sit with your emotions. So I know this is not going to be a fun one, but it's still self-care. And I'm going to share with you why. So many of you may not like this, but I encourage you to watch the whole video. I don't intend to be long. And I encourage you to consider using this activity to help you take better care of yourself. All right. So typically we tend to, as human beings, either in some season in your life, or maybe this is how you have learned to deal with emotions, we tend to distract ourselves from how we're feeling. We tend to ignore how we're feeling, just act like, oh, no, I'm good. All is well. And it's a complete and utter lie. I like to say lies and fairy tales. That ain't the truth. Nope. I try to challenge my clients. So when I start a session, I'll ask, how are you doing? And, the typical response is, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. And then I'll say, but are you really? Let's check in and make sure that's a true statement. And you're not just giving that rote, mindless response to how are you? Maybe because you don't want to talk about it, you're avoiding it, you're ignoring it, or you're pushing it down. We tend to push our emotions down or pushing them away. So that might be your response because I don't want to deal with it. It might be a response because you have learned that when you share your emotions, that other people can't handle them, right? And so you've just avoided sharing your emotions with other people. There could be many reasons why that's your response. It could just be you've gotten to the habit of saying it. It could be that when you do answer honestly, not only can people not handle it, they may ignore you, right? They may act like they didn't hear you. Or you might get a response that you don't like. Oh, well, just pray about it. You'll be fine. You're a strong one. You're resilient. And you're thinking, no, I'm not. I'm freaking out inside and you're not listening to me. So there might be many reasons why you might give that response. But I encourage you to start digging into that in your own life. And hopefully you'll find a safe person that you can share that with. You can journal about it, reflect on it, find a therapist. But I do encourage you to sit with your emotions and then to ultimately process and work through your emotions instead of avoiding them. Just because other people may not be able to handle them, just because they may view you in an incorrect manner because of you sharing your emotions, doesn't mean that you shouldn't share. It might mean that you can't share with that person, or it could mean that that person needs some better self-care, or it could mean that they are just in a season in their life that it might be hard for them to be present with other people and their emotions. And so being able to discern that is going to be very helpful. So here are some tips, some benefits to you actually sharing how you feel instead of avoiding it, instead of ignoring it, instead of pushing it away and acting as if, oh, it's not there. And then we've got this huge elephant in the room, right? Number one benefit, not in any ranking order. So I try not to use numbers. One benefit is that by you sharing your negative emotion or by you sitting with your emotions, which are typically going to be your negative emotions that you're sitting with, for some people, it can be hard to sit with positive emotions, but 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a hard thing for you to do. More so, it's going to be these negative emotions. So by sitting with these emotions and allowing yourself to feel them and to understand them, it helps you also to ultimately feel more positive emotions. So a funny thing about emotions is that when we tend to numb out these negative emotions in our life, we are also potentially numbing or dimming some of the positive emotions in our life. It's just kind of how we're made, that you kind of bring them both down in some way. It may not be to the same extent, right? You might be, here with positive and negative emotions. And when you try to ignore or push down negative emotions, you might push down some of your positive emotions as well. So it's harder for you to feel that joy, to feel that happiness. So that's why it's really important that you actually feel your emotions so that you can ultimately also feel the positive ones as well. It's important that we feel our emotions on both ends of the spectrum, the positive and the negative. It's part of who we are. Emotions is a part of who we are. Another benefit is that not sitting with our emotions can lead to more suffering. So avoiding, ignoring, pushing away, acting like it's not there can actually cause you to feel worse. If you really sit down and think about it, it causes you to feel worse. It can potentially increase symptoms of anxiety and depression when you're not dealing with feelings of anxiety and depression. sadness, a loneliness, whatever the negative emotion is, when we don't sit with them, it can cause us to feel worse. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. Some of you are going to say, well, when I actually sit with my emotions, I feel worse. And you're probably right. Think about it this way. If you had a room in your home, in your apartment or your house, and it was a total wreck, okay? If a room in your house or your apartment was a total wreck, and you begin the cleaning up process, cleaning up and organizing, purging, right? Your room is going to ultimately get worse because now you're shifting things around, you're creating piles, you're doing all of these things. It's going to get worse before it gets better. What you will learn by sitting with your emotions is that when you give them space, when you give them time, when you process them, you will actually begin to feel better. They subside when you pay attention to them. When you ignore them, it's like pushing down lava in a volcano. You're creating more pressure, and that's not what you want in your life. Okay. Another benefit to sitting with your emotions is that it can allow you to live a full and meaningful life. Remember, if you try to ignore and push down negative emotions, you're ultimately pushing down and making it difficult for you to experience a lot of the positive emotions. It's not going to take them away completely for some of us. For some of us, it might. But it's not going to allow us to live in our full potential. Because our negative emotions, just like our positive emotions, are a healthy part of the human experience. Feeling what we feel is not the problem. It's what we're doing with those feelings that is the problem. Okay? And I'll talk about that in a minute. If you really think about what life is made up of, it's made up of the good and the bad. And it's in those low times, it's in those hard times, what we may call bad times, that we then come to a place of thankfulness and gratitude when we can allow ourselves to get there. It's hard to have gratitude and thankfulness in our lives if we don't experience some of these negative things. You're not going to be as grateful to have all green lights if you didn't experience a lifetime or a season in your life of hitting every red light, right? So it helps to promote gratitude. If you want to learn more about gratitude, you can check out day 8 of my self-care challenge. Another benefit is that it can help to increase self-compassion. So what is self-compassion? Self-compassion is treating and responding to struggling. That is what self-compassion is. And so the more that we allow ourselves to feel our emotions, to experience them, to understand them, the more self-compassion we'll get to a place of being kinder to ourselves. When we realize, I'm really not feeling great. I am feeling alone. I am feeling rejected. I am feeling hurt. You might learn then to be kinder to yourself, because again, it's how you would treat someone else if they were experiencing those things. If a loved one came up to you and said, I'm feeling alone, I would hope you wouldn't say, well, suck it up, get over it, move on. You ain't the only person, right? I would hope that you would have some form of compassion. I'm so sorry you feel that way. What causes you to feel that way? Is there anything I can do to help? If you feel like you have the capacity to do that, you don't have to respond that way, but you can still respond in a compassionate, caring, and loving way. I'm so sorry that you feel that way. I'll be praying for you, right? You can offer what you are available to give. If you don't have anything more to give than prayer, that's something. It's better than nothing. It's better than ignoring that person and minimizing their experience. Another benefit to sitting with your emotions is that it can help you gain clarity. It can help you to problem solve, to overcome obstacles, to move forward, and to get unstuck. You actually will do better by feeling the emotions and then processing them, working through them, understanding them. That is going to help you to feel better. It's going to help you to be able to solve some problem that maybe you've been feeling stuck in. It's going to help you to feel unstuck in maybe some small area of your life, especially if you feel like I'm always going to feel this way. But when you realize when I actually dig into these emotions, I start to feel a little bit better. It starts to give you hope. So those are some really great benefits to you sitting with your emotions. So I want to share with you a few tips, and then I'll be done. So here's some tips to help you with sitting with your emotions. One is to start small. You don't have to start with a big, overwhelming, scary, negative emotions, right? Start with a small, irritating, negative emotion. Start there and sit with that. And then allow yourself to grow and build the tolerance, the capacity to deal with the bigger negative emotions in your life. For my busy people who feel like they don't have time, you know my tip: set a timer. Give yourselves 5 to 10 minutes to sit with your emotions. And then once the timer is up, you can move on if you choose to. Or if you feel like I can do this a little bit longer, I feel like I'm getting somewhere, I'm getting some understanding, then set another timer if you need to and continue sitting with them. Move to the next stage, which is processing. Get some paper, write it down, reflect, ask yourself questions. Which leads into my next tip, which is to have something to take notes on. So when you're sitting with your emotions, that next step is going to be processing them and working through them, understanding them. And you may not want to do that. You may not be able to do that in the moment. So what you can do at the very least is jot down some notes of, this is what I was feeling today. This is what I was experiencing. These are some thoughts and beliefs and emotions that came up when I sat with my emotions today. And you can set a date and time to come back to it later. Or you can choose to then, wherever you're putting your notes, you then can choose to reflect on if we're feeling and experiencing, and to dig into, where is that coming from? Why do I feel that way? Try to leave the why question to later. Try to be creative in trying to help yourself to dig deeper. Where does that come from? Who does that thought or feeling remind me of? Where do I feel that emotion in my body? Try to be more creative. Sometimes that why can be a block for us because it puts us on the defense. It makes us feel like we're doing something wrong. And it can impede on the process of reflecting and digging deeper. Another tip is to use an emotions wheel. You can do a Google search and type in emotions wheel or feelings wheel. And you can get there's so many out there. You can find a full range of different images that have a full list. Well, not all the emotions in the world, but a pretty detailed list to maybe a more involved list that may not have as much breadth as a larger list of emotions to help you to be able to identify what you're feeling. Sometimes we don't want to sit with our emotions because we don't know what we're feeling, and that might be overwhelming for you. So one tip is to use an emotion or feelings wheel. So you can look through that list and kind of pick out some of the emotions that you're feeling at that time. I found a really great list that I tend to share with my clients that actually breaks them down into a list of different emotions. That if you know anything about an iceberg, what you see above sea level is only a small portion of the iceberg. The biggest part of the iceberg is going to be underneath, and that can be 2 to 3 times bigger than what you're seeing above the water. Our emotions are the same way. Saying, well, I'm sad, or I'm afraid, or I'm angry, are typically tip of the iceberg emotions. There is so much more underneath that when you look at all of these different words that can better describe what's truly going on underneath the surface for you. So a feelings wheel can really help you to dig deeper and identify what's truly going on behind that mask or below the surface. have something to take notes on. Practice acceptance. A lot of times we want to judge how we're feeling. I shouldn't feel this way. That's just the wrong way of feeling. You shouldn't feel that way about that. Just don't do that. That's not going to be helpful. That's minimizing. That's ignoring or avoiding that feeling. It's better for you to practice. It is going to help you to move forward in a healthier way. If you don't accept it, you're pushing it down. It's like an annoying person in a way, that sometimes when you kind of push them away or ignore them, sometimes they just get worse. That's how our emotions are. They kind of get worse. Like that lava I was talking about in a volcano. You're pushing down, creating more pressure in the volcano. The emotions are going to then force their way out, and it's going to come in a time and a place and on a person that you may not want it to. It may happen when you least expect it, at the worst time, on the wrong person. And then that's going to lead to more negative emotions of regret and, oh, I shouldn't have said that to that person. That person had nothing to do with how I'm feeling. So it's better to practice acceptance. This is how I'm feeling. This is where this is coming from. Now I can move on to, how can I deal with that? What do I do with it? Another tip is to create an environment of positive thinking. Positive thinking. So accepting how I feel, that this is how I'm feeling, right? How can I now create an environment to help me change that way of thinking? That maybe that thinking is false. That way of thinking or feeling is causing me to behave in a way that I don't like, that is not who I really am. So maybe I need to find the positive, realistic, and true perspective on this situation. I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm talking about, for instance, one person may say, I hate the rain. It makes me feel groggy and it's so wet and people don't know how to drive in the rain, right? So creating a more positive mindset, and that you might have to continue to, work on that and use those statements until it actually starts feeling more positive to you. A more positive perspective could be, there's growth that comes from rain, right? We've been at, this is an example. I don't think we've been in any kind of drought this year. But in years past, we've been in a drought. So, a more positive perspective is, we've been in a drought and we've been needing this rain, right? That's a more positive way of looking at it. It's not lying. It's not toxic positivity to minimize the negative emotions, but it helps you to shift from the negative emotions and thoughts to more positive ones. I hope this is making sense. I hope it's helpful. Create an environment of positive thinking. You might need positive affirmations. You might need to call a friend that tends to be more positive, that helps to encourage you and helps you to feel better. Another tip is to process, investigate, and understand your emotions. Sitting with the emotions is only the first step. And again, I said you don't have to do it right then and there, but I do encourage you to come back to what you sat with and to process it, investigate it, understand it, so that you can move through it. Moving past something, if you listen to the language, doesn't make it go away. I've moved past it. I'm just going to go around this right here. But when I move through it, I'm processing, I'm investigating, I'm understanding, there's more of an opportunity for it to then go away, to decrease maybe, right? So also try meditation. Meditation can help clear your mind so that you can then sit with those emotions. Sometimes our mind is racing, and it makes it difficult for us to sit and process. So maybe try some meditation or some soaking worship music. I talked about that yesterday, to kind of help settle your mind, calm your senses, to prepare you to begin to sit with those negative emotions. And finally, find ways to manage and to manage and overcome negative emotions. Manage and overcome negative and overwhelming emotions, right? So find ways to kind of better manage how you're feeling, because sometimes that's what's keeping you from sitting with those emotions. Is I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't like what I'm feeling. They're scary. What if I don't stop crying? I've heard that before. Um, what if I get so angry that I do something I regret, right? So I encourage you, as a tip to help you, is to learn some coping skills, some coping strategies that'll help you to better manage and overcome some of these negative emotions and feelings and thoughts. So some therapies that are helpful for that are DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy, which is specifically for helping individuals to better manage and cope with overwhelming emotions. Another one is CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy. And the premise of that is that what we think and believe is the root of almost everything. Is that what we think and believe about anything, ourselves, the world, other people, is then going to lead to a negative, is going to lead to a feeling. This is what I think and believe about this situation. That's going to cause me to feel a certain way about the situation. And how I'm feeling and what I believe leads to what I feel, is then going to lead to how I behave. So that therapy, learning those skills and those coping skills and strategies from that helps us to change our thinking, because that usually is what's fueling the way that we're feeling. So if I can think in a more positive way, if I can think in a more realistic and truthful way about my situation, right? It doesn't rain just on me, right? But I might have this belief of, oh, of course it's going to rain today. It's because I'm here. Of course there's traffic. It's because I'm here, right? You may not want to say that out loud to somebody. You may not want to admit that that's what you truly think and feel, but it might be. And that way of thinking is only going to cause you to continue to feel worse. So those are two types of therapy that can be helpful. There are other things if there's trauma involved, EMDR, brain spotting. So my final tip is, if you're needing help and support with how to better manage and cope with your emotions, you're finding it really hard to do it by yourself, then I encourage you to find a therapist. I am in the state of North Carolina. But there are thousands of therapists all over the world. You can, if you have insurance, you can go to headway.co, C-O, headway.co, to try to find a therapist that takes your insurance. You can try betterhelp.com, which is strictly virtual. There are different agencies here in the Greensboro area. I'm more than welcome, more than willing to share some resources for you if you're looking for a therapist. And you can also try Psychology Today, and you can put in your city and state, and you can adjust the search filter for, a certain, if you're looking for a male therapist or a female therapist, if you're looking for a Christian therapist, if you're looking for someone that takes a certain insurance, you can change the filter to help you to find different therapists in your area. There's plenty of other ones that are more specific. There's Therapy for Black Girls. There are different directories all over the place that you can use to help you find a therapist, to help you learn how to better sit with your emotions, recognize, identify them, manage them, and cope with them. So I hope all of this was helpful for you in some way, and I hope that you do take the brave step and start small by sitting with your emotions today, asking yourself maybe some of those tough questions in that next step of processing and understanding. And I kind of gave some of those questions to you. What am I feeling? Where is it coming from? What does this feeling make me want to do? How does this feeling make me want to behave? What do I think I should do with this feeling? So getting into maybe that obligation, or, what you think is the right way. What is the wrong way to respond or react because of how I'm feeling? What do I think would be a healthier way? So those are your reflective questions for today to help you to dig a little bit deeper into those emotions. So I hope that this encourages you in some way. If you need more help and support, feel free to reach out to me. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for day 23 of my 30-day self-care challenge. We're coming to the end here. If you want more information, feel free to visit my website, mindfuledgesolutions.com. The link is in the description of the video and in my Instagram bio. Have a wonderful day today, and I encourage you to stay mindful. Bye.